Hi, everyone. Welcome to the special Friday evening edition of Livestream with me, Dr. Aparajita Jirigunta. I am the founder and CEO of AJ Rao LLC, and of course, the creator of the upcoming C3EB Summit, the Culturally Competent Conversations for Equity and Belongingness. Woo, that's a mouthful. Summit. And I'm so excited about it, and I'm so excited about this live stream. So for me, this live stream is super special because we have Santosh Mathew, also in Indian terms called Santosh Mathew, who is not just, a visionary thinker and a visionary leader and, motivational, inspirational speaker. You should definitely catch his stuff on LinkedIn. It is amazing. But he was also one of the people who, from the very beginning of the conception of this summit, has walked the walk with me, helps me walk the walk. He's been my sounding board across the board on so many different things. And, we'll get into more about this, but I just wanted to take a moment to acknowledge Santosh for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And I want to, let me read Santosh's bio and then we're going to get into like the fun stuff. So Santosh is from Tampa, Florida, which I'm super jealous about for the weather, but not for everything else right now. I just had to say that too. Santosh has spent the last 16 years in multiple industries ranging from government, healthcare, insurance, manufacturing, and numerous technical capacities. Currently at Nielsen, as a director of technology, he leads the global mergers and acquisitions integration practice to rapidly integrate new companies into their HR, billing, finance, and payroll systems. For 6 years and counting, he has co-led Nielsen's Asian Affinity Link Employee Resource Group, driving cultural exploration and inclusive practices, and leads the North American Green Team to ideate ways to make the company more sustainable. He is a graduate of Nielsen's Diverse Leadership Program, Connect Florida Leadership Program, the University of Oklahoma, and with a master's in information systems, and Oklahoma Christian University with an MBA. Santosh serves multiple nonprofit organizations. He is the National Director for Employee Resource Groups for NAP, which is the National Association of Asian American Professionals. In this role, he is able to curate content that helps companies understand how best to create, extend ERG and BRG activities in their companies. An executive board member of the Sustini Foundation, I hope I said that right, and represents Nielsen for the Tampa Bay Partnerships Regional Talent Working Group focused on critical elements for retaining talent and workforce for the region. Santosh and his wife have 4 wonderful children, the latest who arrived in 2019, and they live in Tampa after transplanting from Oklahoma. Oh my goodness, you have like a really, really, really full life.
I need to shorten that bio.
Whew, I was tired reading that bio. Obviously, you're somebody who really actually, for me, walks the walk in delivering the value you promise. That is something that I admire about you. And that is something that inspires me to no great end at all. Like, that's an understatement when I say that, because again, when you make that commitment, you are somebody who goes above and beyond helping and delivering this value, which is such a great model of leadership and action.
Thank you. I think one of the big things, if you're watching this and you're like, oh, I could never do that. Believe me, I was there moments ago. And I think one of the things that I recognized along the way was just volunteer, just say yes to a lot more things than you say no. And don't get me wrong, that bio was pretty long because I've said yes to a number of different things. And because of that, it has really helped kind of escalate the way that I'm able to do things now, because I am able to talk the talk to help me actually walk the walk. And a lot of that it just comes through experience. And there's just a lot of people and organizations that really just need someone to be a sounding board. They just want somebody to listen, and they like feedback. And a lot of times organizations and individuals just struggle silently, and we should stop doing that. We should really talk to one another more often.
I absolutely, oh my goodness, I absolutely agree with everything that you just said. Um, let's get personal, like super personal here. What drives you to do all of this work?
I think I've always been someone that has been a helpful person, and a lot of that I attribute to my older brother who had Down syndrome. And because of just having a Down syndrome brother and the patience it teaches you to deal with someone who's in your life all the time. He was only a year older than me. And even though he was older than me, I was kind of in the older brother and middle child role. So I got to experience lots of different things, but it's a gift. It's a gift of his life that I got to cherish. Don't get me wrong, I was not perfect. I was really, really bad at it, but a lot of the things that he taught me, I think it just kind of emboldens me to continue to help people, because he's no longer in my life, but his memory and a lot of those things that I was able to do for him, I'm able to actually just do for other people just by having a conversation a lot of times.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's a really beautiful and touching legacy for him, for his memory, and for you to carry on, in terms of the lessons that you may not have wanted to learn at that time, but that you did, that are helping you step up to be this person now who is just, I mean, you are one. I'm gushing here, but I've always been your fangirl, but you are one of the most conscientious, inclusive leaders I've known, that you actually take the time to understand all perspectives, and then sort of throw your 2 cents in, which are always like, whoa, dude, where did that come out of? Like, that's deep, so I really appreciate that about you. And given that, obviously, me being who I am and you being who you are, when the summit started happening, I sort of came to you and like vomited everything in front of you, literally. Mm-hmm. And was like, and this and this and this and this. And by the way, can you please be my speaker?
Right.
So you sort of knew, you knew exactly what I was building. And on top of that, it's because of you that I got one of the only, major corporate sponsorship, being a first time inaugural event, which, what was your big why for saying yes? And then what was your big why for sort of promoting me for that?
Well, I think it gets back to saying yes to a lot of things. When I joined Nielsen 6 years ago, somebody was like, hey, can somebody take a photo? We were having this event. Can somebody take photos for the event? I was like, okay, yeah. I mean, I can take photos. I think I had bought a camera at the time. I was like, I need to test this thing out anyways. And little did I know, just by volunteering for that one thing, literally 2 weeks later, somebody came up to me and they're like, hey, would you like to lead an ERG group? And I'm like, wait a second, what? And it's because of those little things where you say yes and you're exposed to more things and you get to learn about the value of an employee resource group and the diversity and inclusion movement within large organizations. You're exposed to a lot of things. And honestly, because I said yes to taking photos so long ago, that ripple effect was, it was so simple for me to actually talk to people in my organization and say, hey, I'm part of this thing. Do you mind sponsoring? And they were like, oh, hey, we know you. You're the guy that says yes all the time. Absolutely. Right. Yeah. So it was not because I presented a massive business case. It was because the business case was me and my action for a number of years, and taking the time to learn what this event is about has been amazing, and sharing that with my leadership. They are excited, and I think everybody is really in for some fun learnings.
Yeah, absolutely. Which brings me, this, I'm going to throw this curveball at you. What is your candid thought on this event so far? Because you've literally seen every step of my thought process. And outside of you, Ruthie is the only other one, and she's my partner on this. Yeah. And so she, and she's not even had a conversation with you yet, but she knows, you've been a major player in this. So it's always this so what? Spill the tea.
Listen, I think the biggest thing is you have got a phenomenal collection of talent from all over the US and maybe even the world in some cases, right? We have some phenomenal talent. And what I really, really like about this concept is having these types of conversations are not easy. And some of the things that we're going to be treading into, and I can tell you one of the sections of my brief talk will be some pitfalls and some things that you need to look out for whenever you're doing whatever I'm going to be talking about. Because I think we, not just Americans, right? I think we as people have really lost the ability to have hard conversations. And I'm really looking forward to hearing things that are going to challenge me, and they're going to kind of, gnaw into me, because I find that whenever you kind of hit me, that's when I look at myself and I'm like, is that supposed to hurt? Is that supposed to hurt like that? Or do I need to move my hand out of the way next time, right?
Yeah.
So it's an opportunity to learn and to really enhance yourself, and to then share that. Because what I'm going to be sharing is learned things that I was exposed to over the last 6-7 years that, honestly, by saying yes to taking photos, I've learned, right? And that's the beauty of this whole thing, is by having a conversation, by hopefully signing up and coming to a free event, which is unbelievable. And then, if you enjoy even any one of the talks, by going further, because I think that that's the one thing I really like about this event. It's not just an event, it's an opportunity to continue to create the conversation further, right? Either it's through you and your organization, or through whoever you feel is an even better fit. In some cases, there's a plethora of resources that you bring to the table, and this whole convention is going to, I think, expose people to.
Yeah. I remember the first time when we were having, the conversation about this summit, and you're like, great. And, what are you charging attendees? And I was like, it's free. And you were like, and wait, what? You're doing all of this and you're not charging people.
Right.
Yeah. And I was like, yeah, no, I'm not. Because I really just want people to have these conversations in a safe space.
Yeah. And, I think people that are in the know, right? A lot of our people that we are sharing this event to, they're in the know, and they recognize that this content is not free in a lot of cases. In a lot of cases, you are signing up for a webinar that costs $50, $100, $200 for one session. And then we're talking about 40 something sessions. I mean,
47.
There's a ton of content here. And I think really, again, it's not just the content, because I don't think anybody's going to be able to be there outside of maybe you for all 47 sessions.
I gotta.
Yeah. But I mean, I think the value of being able to come back and see some of the content, and then taking the conversation further, is probably the most important thing.
Yeah.
Right. We are practitioners, and we are, I try not to ever call myself a specialist, but there are many specialists that are part of this event, and you have access to that. And again, they are not free because this is their livelihood, but they are giving you something that's really important and it's valuable. And if it resonates with you, then at least you have a starting point. You may not have everything you want at that moment, but at least if you have a starting point, you can go at it on your own. And then when you're ready, you can engage, and it's phenomenal.
Absolutely. And it's so, it's very interesting to me that you brought up that point about they're now free, because this is something I'm going to be talking about. I finally did fit myself in the schedule for like 20 minutes on Friday, to be able to talk about this. I'm actually going to be talking about the value of all of this and a call to action of what needs to happen in the future. So that's something to look forward to. But glad you're back.
Apologies.
No worries. No worries. So, this is where you go, this www.c3eb.com. And again, Santosh Mathew, he is going to be talking on Thursday, August the 27th at nighttime at 8:30 p.m. And so, Santosh, without, giving away the baby with the bathwater or bathwater, whatever that I'm
doing something bad to a baby. Go on.
There you go. Without doing any of that kind of stuff, basically as a teaser,
sure.
What can people expect from your talk? Because I think some people's talks have been announced, yours still hasn't. So there is a little bit of a mystery there.
Yeah. So my talk will be about leveraging employee resource groups and business resource groups within your company or organization. And, I think a couple of things that I will be talking about are, if you're part of a large organization, you have probably heard the term ERG or BRG. If you haven't, it's probably tied to some sort of iteration of a diversity and inclusion group. So there's probably something there like allies or affinity groups or whatever it may be. So it can come in a bunch of different variations. And, my talk will be really about what are they, how are you leveraging them? But then I think one of the most important things, and this has kind of been a theme for me this year, is ERG and me. So how do you personally leverage what your companies are doing for your personal growth and career growth? So it's not just a give all the time by the employee and then take by the corporation, which is what I think a lot of people feel. It's really a symbiotic relationship, because these things are, sometimes they're touchy-feely, right? They're not the sales numbers, right? They are not the productivity numbers. They are not what we typically look at on a 10K for a lot of publicly traded companies. And they're not revenue numbers, right? These, if anything, a lot of times these are the expenses that people try to hide or try to get rid of. And it's been really eye-opening that organizations have said, no matter what, we are going to spend dollars here. We are going to invest. And I can tell you from my personal experience at Nielsen, but then also at so many other companies, especially in this year and this last 2 to 3 years, when there's been lots of different tensions, a lot of organizations have doubled down. They're like, we're going to bring in more experts. We're going to talk more. We're going to empower our groups more. We're going to take it to the next level. So some groups are ERGs are becoming BRGs. Those BRGs are becoming their own divisions. And phenomenal things are happening.
Yeah. And I'm so glad you're bringing that perspective, because even for me, I'm constantly complaining to you about this, about how I'm hearing decision makers and leaders sort of saying, oh yeah, we can't concentrate on DEI and people right now because of the unprecedented circumstances, or we'd love to, but there's a shortage of diverse talent and all of that. So in many senses, it's incredibly refreshing to hear that there are companies who are taking the right steps, and whether other companies that are their size or smaller or bigger or whatever, but there is some prototype of what's been working that anybody can learn from. And that's a perspective you're bringing in of, listen, like, this boils down to your individual responsibility in this. And based on that, here's where you can take it to. Here's where I've been able to take it to. And here are the real tangible benefits that all of these other organizations that I'm a part of, because I know your work in NAP. That's the one I know. Outside, there the other ones, I don't personally know them, but the NAP work I do. To be able to realize that all of that work happened because you said yes to taking photos. And then based on that, that's the impact, more or less. Of course, there's more details, but more or less, that's the impact you're able to have on the community around you in service. That is such an empowering message, I feel, especially for younger audiences going into an election year, dealing with these, we have leaders who are 75, 77, 80.
Right.
And we have new leadership coming in that's like 35. And where does all of that fit in? I think what your life has been and what your insights are and your experience is actually a very tangible, intergenerational lesson as well of how by doing the things that you did, you sort of traversed and built those bridges.
Yeah. And, I think one thing you brought up that I see a lot of times is somebody will say yes, right? So maybe you're working on one of the 2 campaigns that are going to be hot and heavy here already. And when your candidate loses, because somebody's going to lose, right? When your candidate loses, what has discouraged me a lot is people will then become either an opposition or they will just shut down. And one of the things that I've had to learn growing up and then even saying yes to a lot of things are you're not in control all the time. There's been so many times where even in the volunteer organizations that I've been part of, or even things that are paid where, I'm working a job or doing something for someone where it doesn't go the way that I want it to go. So I can do one of 2 things. I can or one of 3 things, I guess. I can either start to oppose it and cause problems, which a lot of people do. I can completely shut down and become a recluse or, become kind of that elephant in the room. Or what I have found successful is I swallow my pride and I take a moment to try to understand why. And then I try to open out my hand and say, I may not like it, but I'm here to help, because overall, I want country, organization, company, family, friends, whatever it may be, I want us to thrive. And if I am not doing anything, or if I'm opposing, now listen, don't get me wrong, there's going to be times I'm going to oppose, but most of the time, I shouldn't want to do that. I should want to make sure that everybody has an opportunity. And sometimes it's not my time. And sometimes I learn a lot more watching somebody else do something. And so I would just say, for those of you that are going to get hot and heavy with an election, please, please, please don't go into a deep, dark hole after the end of it. Find a way to understand and move on, because we all need each other.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. I 100% agree with that. And I'm also living proof that, yes, Santosh does say no. Because there have been a couple of things where I'm like, hey, what about it? And he's like, oh my God, just stop.
Yeah.
Like, stop. You're overthinking this.
I do say no.
Yeah. And
I have 4 children, so I say no all the time.
Yeah. But and on the flip side of it, you're also somebody who really, through this process of the summit, taught me how to keep holding my boundaries and still, ask for help when I need it, offer help when it's needed, and balance that in terms of like what my business needs are, what my personal needs are, and the impact that I want to have with this. So you just really helped clarify all of that. So thank you so much for that. And I know this talk that you're going to give is going to be amazing. And of course, I'm going to see you on there because I'm going to have a ton more questions, because I don't get to pick people. Well, okay, that's not true. I do get to pick people's brains all the time, every day. That's like my job.
Sure.
But I never get tired of it. So another chance to like pick your brain in that context.
Sure.
Make sure, for anybody that joined us or is going to join us later and watch this video later, make sure you register for the C3EB Summit at www.c3eb.com. Registration is free. And the summit is happening next week from August 26th through the 28th. And you will be able to see Santosh August 27th at 8:30 p.m., where he's going to be bringing all of his insights. And I'm going to be there to ask a whole ton of questions. And I hope you will bring your questions as well. So make sure you register and let's have a party.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is going to be fun. Thank you. Thank you so much for taking this time to be here. Do you have any parting thoughts for tonight?
No. Have a wonderful weekend. Stay safe, because I know that everybody is dealing with various different versions of viruses and, political insanity. So stay safe, stay sane, and just have a wonderful weekend.
Yeah. Yep. I think that's a perfect note to go out on. And so we will see you next time with another live stream. Hope you enjoyed this. Make sure you register, and we'll see you at the summit. Bye.
Bye.